Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Data Standard Audio Experience. Today we have Amit Mudgal, the Senior VP of Digital Data Analytics at Marsh and McLennan Companies. And today we're going to be speaking more about bringing data to the consumer. So, welcome to the show, Amit. I'm excited to speak with you and learn more about your journey.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about your background and your experiences?
Sure, absolutely. We are actually a motley crew of tech and business experts who are trying to make a dent in the risk management industry. Now, we're constantly trying to challenge the status quo. Now, if we have our way, the experience of risk management may not look like what it is today, but obviously we do respect the confines of our system. It's there for a reason. Entering into the risk management space and that too with Marsh, was very conscious decision on my part. I wanted to be surrounded by people who had the mentality of a startup, but also have a versatility of dealing with clients in almost every line of business. So we span across almost everything, every line of business. 2006 onwards, there was a very hard push on data. Now, it did fascinated me to enter into this space back then. But since then, I have been learning from the industry experts and solutions which are out there, and while contributing in whatever little way I can.
Definitely, and that's awesome. It's great that you're always learning. It's there's new challenges and new things that always come up. So every day is always a new learning experience. So that's awesome. And so I wanted to hear more about specific projects that you've worked on within your team. So what's a specific project that you've worked on that kind of focuses on the consumer and the consumer's wants?
Yeah, sure. So most of my projects which I work with are consumer focused. Exceptions being the tryout projects which I do in my free time to evaluate a particular technology like TensorFlow or anything else, IoT devices and so on and so forth. The latest project which I'm doing currently with Marsh is Blue Eye Analytics. Now, what's it about? It basically helps the broker and the analyst optimize risk and provide options to our clients based on the kind of data that we have at our fingertips. It also is client facing. So the clients can have their own optimizations done by adjusting different risk factors and coming out with the appropriate policy for them. Now, it does sound simple, but you just have to do some adjustments and so on and so forth to find a proper risk, to evaluate a proper risk. But there were a lot of challenges along the line. Each client needed a different need was different based on the line of business or based on geography or where they were situated. And they like to see information in different formats. Some liked heat maps, some liked line charts, some absolutely hated it. And I can actually go on that. But the crux of the thing is that there's too many variables where it depends on. For example, the information context is also subject to change based on the org structure. At each level of the customer engagement also, for example, a CEO might be more interested in getting employee per share and so on and so forth, while the others would be just interested in getting the gross profit, gross margin, and so on. So we had to get the horse to the water. How we overcame these challenges, we had to construct some really clever processes, and we are still doing so. It's a constant journey, as we say. And we had to find the behavior of our clients, we can influence it. We had to find the correct triggers for our clients so that they can use our product. Also, the action which they need to take once they have been onboarded, which should be seamless, so that they can get all the information quickly. So for that, we had to provide some default information, which would be most pertinent to their need. We also had to reward them in certain ways. And that's the variable reward section, so that they can constantly come to the app and see the value of it. And finally, they should be invested in the app as well, because we see that it's success when they stake their reputation on this app, and when they take it to their peers or their bosses or their management, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you also just mentioned a pretty interesting phrase, and it was leading the horse to the water. Could you explain more about what this is and kind of did you come up with this, or is this a common phrase that people usually throw around?
I think I've been using it for a while. I do not know its origins, but yeah, I've been hearing it all over and over. But this actually alludes to the, how we can influence the customer behavior. Overall, the behavior is represented by, the equation B equal to MAT, where behavior is equal to motivation times ability times trigger. It's quoted by PJ Fogg, who's a behavioral scientist. Now, there are three components of affecting a behavior. Trigger, and trigger is basically when our clients log on and contact us, when they would be doing that. So they would be doing it whenever there's a policy renewal, whenever there are conditions change, whenever their conditions change in regards to risk. If they are a fresh company on a lookout for insurance, like a new IPO, etc., then they would be coming and logging on to the tool. Or if they are unsatisfied with another competitor, that's the time when they would be coming to this tool. Now, if it's a renewal coming or an existing client whose conditions have changed, they can be contacted via digital means, so they can work with us. Now, once they log on to test the waters, that's when the ability factor comes in, and that's the second piece in the change of the behavior. The ability is important aspect in determining the user behavior, and that basically is how seamlessly we can log them on. Do they need to call somebody to figure out the tool? Do they have any familiarity with the visuals, the UX, based on the industry they are in? Are there any quick tutorials they can, in case they get stuck or something? Are we talking the same business language? If it's a C-suite person, he would be interested in defining the risk in terms of volatility per share or price compared to, somebody who would be there in finance who would be looking for hard dollar figures. Now, the final aspect of affecting the behavior is motivation. Now, motivation is tricky because sometimes are they getting something that is worth their while? Can I get accurate and reliable data? How close are the predictive models to the real world? Now, if you have the correct combination of trigger, ability, and motivation, we can definitely bring the horse to the water, the mythical horse to the water.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great phrase to kind of think about, just being able to benefit the customer as much as possible and making products and services that'll best suit the customer. So that's a great phrase to be using, definitely. You're always working with customers and hearing about their business needs and what they want to see. And so how are you measuring the success for the consumers that you're working with?
Yeah, so we at Marsh are maniacally focused on outcomes. There's a plethora of metrics that we follow and follow our project successes, like CSAT scores, bounce rate, how many people look at the first page of our app and just never log in again. Or, it can be revenue realization, that how many client interactions we had. We try to make every interaction count. But how many of them were part of our analytical, or how many of them actually used our analytical tools for their transaction? Average time per customer, like how fast we were able to provide the data that they wanted, and whether they found it relevant, and so on. So there's a plethora of them. However, sometimes the smallest of things make a huge impact. Insurance, as such, the way I see it, is the final line of defense against solvency. That's total despair when you come across in a company. So when you see our tools have helped provide the right cover when the world is falling apart for our clients, that's success for us. The way we look at it, we get many such stories from our clients, where we have been instrumental in saving lives and livelihoods. That's what motivates and drives us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to hear. You're also able to kind of get the feedback from your consumers also, just to hear what's working, what's not, and what you can change to advance the company even more in the future. Definitely.
Yeah.
And so technology, we're in a time where technology is constantly changing as the years go by. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on data analytics and just consumer analytics in general. How do you see that changing in the future and just progressing over time?
Yeah. So It's been changing as we, right from the start of my career, actually, back in 2002 timeframe, structured data was not easily available. If the corporations could get, a yearly report in time, it was an achievement. 2006, that time frame, data started growing in when the corporations realized that it's important for making decisions. Now, at that time, dashboards, reports showing quarterly earnings and trends were most prevalent. 2010 onwards, the trends were mostly favoring mobile reporting enhancement, portability, and reach to the customer. And that actually helped the analytic layer a lot. But 15 onwards, there was a push towards the real-time reporting. IoT came along and pushing the data via Kafka and other data streams. Some examples of analytics affinity could be seen by modifying our lifestyles, like having a wearable or, with Alexa. Now we can't live without it. And now in the post-COVID world and the COVID world, there's a new reliance on data, and it's forming to take a it takes a real-time data and trend to predict the future states. Now we are using machine learning models like the Bayesian model to predict future states, but there's some limit of autonomy, which is also given to AI systems, and we actually monitor that. These analytics, they run on top of its decisions, basically. So the decisions made by the AI systems, we run analytics on top of it. Whether how close the AI system was to what it was expected to do. Now we have some tolerances which we give leeway. So for example, if there's a $20 million transaction which is going through, we'll definitely stop it and not let AI handle it. But for small transactions, definitely we do. And these tolerances can be got through Monte Carlo simulations, and there are a lot of other simulations that we can do just to make sure that this is within limits. Now, your question was about future. If I could, peek into the future, my bet would be that the analytics would be a highly contextual to the user accessing the information. And for better or for worse, there would be a need to profile the user community. The ethics of this is another discussion altogether, but however, I'm an optimist, and I feel that analytics is going to penetrate deep into every facet of our life.
Yeah, definitely. Great insight and great thoughts on how you see the future kind of changing over time, especially because, like we had mentioned, technology is always going to be changing. And so that's the methods and analytics processes that we do will also be changing over time. Yeah. And so I want to say thank you so much, Amit, for joining us today. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. We at the Data Standard, we're trying to build a community where everybody can network and collaborate with everyone. And so what is something that we can do for you?
Yeah, absolutely. There are some really cool people doing fantastic things out there in the spheres of data and analytics. I think there's a need to have these solutions connect with industry experts who can generate some value out of it. Now, if you've made something as small as a widget to show data in a particular format, or as complex as something like TensorFlow providing solution, or like providing a recommendation engine or something of that sort, just showcase your work and connect with industry thought leaders. It might not click immediately, but over a period of refinement, it may be really good and viable solutions, which a world can use and really need. Yeah, so that's how you can connect.
Yeah, great. And where can everyone find you just so they can connect with you online?
Oh, sure. I'm actually available on LinkedIn. Just send me a message with a solution, or if you have any advice on any solution we are working on, and I would be happy to answer any queries you might have. So I'm on LinkedIn. It's Amit.Mudgal. And yeah, you can find me there.
Yeah, perfect. And to our audience, for more information on the Data Standard, you can find us at our website, www.datastandard.io, as well as our YouTube and LinkedIn page. And this episode is once again sponsored by Pandio. They're the hot new data science startup in San Diego, and they're working on an Apache Pulsar messaging system. So you can learn more about their work at pandio.com. And thank you so much, Amit, for joining us. We hope to keep in touch and speak to you again soon.
Thank you.